Hello everybody, welcome back. This is going to be episode 2 for our legendary Beastmen campaign for Total War Warhammer. I am the strategy professor. If you're just joining us for the first time, this is a pure campaign, which means we're not going to do any auto-resolve abuse. We're not going to assassinate lords on the campaign map. We're not going to use any underhanded tricks with magic. We're not going to do anything to make the game less fun to play or less fun to watch. We want a challenge. That's why we're all here. So I hope you enjoy that as much as I do. Okay, so where we left off last time, we talked briefly about some of the systems that are in the game. The Beastmen, by the way, are the most complex, strategically complex race by far in the game. I love them. I love them. I've had a really rough day today trying to learn them, trying to learn the ropes. There's a huge learning curve to them, but I love them. They're a ton of fun. So, first of all, there's this moon system. We talked about it last episode. You get random buffs / debuffs. Like, it's a really weird choice. You'll have to see what I'm talking about when it comes up in 7 turns. But this is a unique system that's really cool. We talked about the stances, most notably that you don't have a march stance, which is huge. That's the biggest deal. The second one is that you can actually attack an ambush stance. And you have the underway called beast paths now. But there's a lot of really cool things with stances that we talked about. We talked about this bar. So you noticed I won a battle there last turn with this guy, so I got 18 for winning the battle. I destroyed a settlement, so I get 5. I did lose some units, so -5. So if I hadn't lost as many spearmen, I would have gotten more. So you get extra bonuses for having really, really decisive victories, because you don't lose as much. So you want to aim for perfection with your fights as much as possible. So we learned about this, we learned about this, we learned about this, and in the current episode, I promised we'd talk about technology some, we'll talk about buildings, we'll talk about the skill tree, and we'll get into another really cool fight with Bill Bali here. We might actually get into a fight with this army too if we get into it. Now, last time I talked about how challenging it is and how I've had some rough campaigns today, but I just want to point out as well that I did have a very successful campaign. I was about, I think, 4 episodes deep in it, maybe even 5 or 6 episodes. I was really deep into this other campaign, and I realized that my microphone was messing up. It was all static. So I was just completely dominating, doing very well in that campaign, and I had to restart because my microphone, the OBS software that I use, was really skewing my microphone. I just had to restart it, and it worked fine. Because I'd done 100 videos, never had any mic problems, and then all of a sudden, I just didn't do a sound check one time today on the campaign, and I just kept going with it, and I had to restart the whole thing. So I have had successful campaigns so far. I just had to restart them again. But anyways, let's get back in here. Okay, so first off, let's talk about the skill tree here really quickly, and then we'll talk about the buildings. Okay, so we just got a skill up here, so let's look at the bar. So your lord, why am I so slow? Oh, he has a maimed leg. Ooh. That's a bad roll. That's bad, because you need to be able to flank around and get a lot of good fights in with the Beastmen. So that's pretty bad, but I mean, we can't do anything about it. We have to use him. We can't trade him out for another lord, so we've got to use him, because if you want to hire another lord, it costs like 6 growth. Let me see. 6 growth, which is astronomical. You really can't get that. And every single lord for the Beastmen, by the way, is melee. It's just like the Empire. So the only way you can get magic users is to get a special building for them, or get your other legendary lord that you also need the wizard building for anyways. So it's important to keep in mind. Okay, so let's get in here. Let's look at the skills. Alright, so I just picked up this. It's pretty cool. But he is a good fighter. So the lords do have 100 armor, 60 melee attack, and a 50 charge bonus, and 450 weapon strength. So they are very, very good fighters. Okay, so this is probably the most complex and intricate tree that I've seen out of any other faction in the campaign so far. There are so many good skills in here that you're going to want to get from all sorts of different trees that it's really hard to choose where to go. In most other campaigns, you just want to run it right up the middle and just get red all the way through, because there's so many good buffs to your army, and the utility tree is usually not very good. I usually use the utility tree on hero units and not on lords, because with lords, you want to make your army very strong, very powerful. Either via buffing your entire army, or if you have particularly good stats here, through buffing yourself to turn into a good duelist. But as we'll see with the Beastmen, this is actually one of the strongest trees as a utility tree for reasons I'll talk about here in a second. So first of all, we'll talk about sort of these top standalones. They have a lot of standalone talents you can get up here, or skills rather. So first of all, you want to get a mount with any faction anytime you can. Always get the mount, always get the best mount that you possibly can. It's just instrumental. Speed is so important for flanking, and you usually get a huge charge bonus on a good mount, so just anytime you can get a mount, get it. Level 15 is a little bit late, but better late than never. Just get this as soon as you can get it. Manbane, plus 18 attack. Quite nice. It's something to think about. It's really good. Extra 9 leadership for every single person that's within your aura range. Can be quite strong. Okay, just your standard missile resistance. That's okay. Now this right here. 20% extra weapon strength for everything. This isn't just for your infantry. This isn't just for your giants. It isn't just for your lords. It's everything. Everything that you field in your whole army gets plus 20% extra weapon strength, which is basically 20% extra damage. Really, really powerful. You want to get this as soon as it's available. Extra 9 defense, not a huge deal. Now this is probably the weakest tree of them all. You only get plus 2 melee attack. What? Like not even 5? Only 2? Devastating charge is nice. I'm not going to lie. Extra 30 charge bonus, quite good. This is weak. If you're ever wondering if it's a good number or a bad number, if you should spec into it, the game kind of gives you hints. If it's something that you should be doing potentially, it'll give you double the number of something that you shouldn't be doing. So if someone is designed to get a lot of armor, like the Empire, then it'll say plus 30 armor here. But because it only says plus 15, it really doesn't want you to get that. Same deal here. Some lords will get plus 18 for melee defense in this slot. You only get plus 9, so it's pretty weak. Same thing here. Some lords will get plus 18, you only get 9. Up here you have 18. Right here. But here you only have 9, so it's this first little tree here is really weak. This is good. So if you're going to get this tree, I would recommend doing 3 in Devastating Charge, and then maybe 1 in Hatred of Man here. Banquet of Flesh, pretty good. Extra 15% move speed, really good. I mean, that would counteract the maimed leg that he has, and another plus 30 to charge bonus. So now you'd be getting... plus 60 to charge. So that's actually considerable. That's quite strong. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, talking about it, plus 60 to charge, pretty good. I may want to think about it. I mean, there's just so many good choices in this campaign. So over here you get weapon strength 30%. That's pretty good. Hit points 30%. That's really good. If it was weaker, it'd only be 15%. Leadership plus 9 is whatever. And melee defense plus 18, really good. Bloodlust, really nice. It's a buff, 45-second cooldown, gives everybody plus 20% armor piercing damage. So it's actually pretty good now that I reflect on it, because you can get plus 60 charge, which is just crazy, especially because you can't get a mount, or you do get this mount eventually. So, like, getting the mount, you can see the bar over here, it takes you up to about, like, looks like 80 or 90 charge bonus. You get an extra 60, I mean, you're looking at like 140 charge or something. It could potentially be very strong. Okay, so this is a very good tree still with the Beastmen. So 5 leadership, very good. Let me explain to you why this is good. If you've never watched any of my other campaigns, anything that gives you a flat number, so this is a flat plus 12 melee attack, is very strong on something that has a really low base. So plus 12 attack. Let's look at the unit that this buffs. So Unger Horde, or Unger Spearman. Alright, Unger Horde here starts off with 22 melee attack. So if you give him plus 12, that means he's going to be doing over 50% more damage. Because he's going to have 50% more melee attack. You know, I don't have to tell you that's a really good number. Like, that's a lot more damage. So that's really, really strong. And the charge bonus, he gets plus 10 charge. You know, that's almost... it's not quite 100%, it's probably like 75% more charge. I can't do the math off the top of my head, but it's a lot of extra damage on your charge. So, very, very strong. So this is ludicrously powerful with your low-tech units. Vigor loss, I pointed you to the Zoo Devil video. If you haven't watched that yet, go check it out. My epic, or my legendary dwarf campaign. It's getting late. I'm getting tired, but I'm dedicated to getting you guys some good content, guys and gals. My legendary dwarf campaign, episode 11. Check it out. Zoo Devil explains very well how vigor works. This is an extremely strong skill. Don't confuse it. This is very strong. So if you go in this tree, you're going to want to get 3 in this eventually. Very, very good. You don't have great cavalry, frankly, with the Beastmen. It's okay, but there's other things that are better than this that are around. It's okay. 9 extra charge for Unger units. I mean, it's worth considering. If you get a lot of Unger units, I mean, plus 9 here, plus 10 here, that's extra 19 charge. I mean, they come with 15 charge. That's 34 on the charge. I mean, if you use a lot of Unger units, this is definitely worth considering. This is one of the weaker things in the tree, but, you know, if you have Leader of the Raucous Host and you want a little bit more for your Unger, that's something to consider. Call of Violence, okay. Plus 16 leadership, pretty standard. You don't really need Belor, or whatever they call his, Voice of the Dark Gods. It's okay. But your guys already have pretty decent leadership, so it's not a huge deal. This, same deal, very good. Plus 12 melee attack and Bestigor herd for the Gore herd and Bestigor herd, and plus 10 charge bonus, so very, very strong. You definitely want this. Freakish mutations. Now this is very weird, and I want to show you why. It's because of the way this is phrased. It says plus 12 melee attack for monstrous beasts, and it doesn't actually define what a monstrous beast was. I wish they would just put in parentheses or something like which units this actually affects. This is obvious what this affects. It affects Gore herd and Bestigor herd. This is obvious what it affects. Unger herd, Unger spearmen. So, pretty obvious. This, what is a monstrous beast? So let's look here. Let's look at buildings. I'll show you what I'm talking about. And we'll go into buildings here in a second. We'll probably do a fight, and then we'll go into buildings after we fight. So first off, let's look at those keywords. Remember, we're looking for monstrous beast. So this is monstrous, but it doesn't say beast anywhere on this. This says beast, but it doesn't say monstrous. So I don't think it affects anything in this tree. I could be mistaken, but I don't think it affects anything here. Now this says bestial cavalry, and it says monster. But there's already another buff that affects cavalry, so I suspect it doesn't apply to these units, because then that would be double buffing them in a tree, and they never do that with any of the other factions. So I don't think that's the case. I don't think your cavalry gets it, because they have another bonus that you can get. Now it clearly affects this because it's called a monstrous beast, and it probably affects the Razor Gore chariot. So it almost certainly affects both of these. Now the big question is, does it affect Minotaurs? And this is a huge question to ask. So it's monstrous infantry. It says monstrous creatures, describes them. But up here it says huge beasts of war, powerful beyond reckoning, take to the battlefield with enormous weapons, blah blah blah. So does it apply to Minotaurs? They're clearly beasts, and they're clearly monstrous, but they're not called monstrous beasts in the official title. They're called monstrous infantry. Now this is never called beast anywhere. It's just called monster, so it almost certainly doesn't affect giants. But does it affect Minotaurs? If you guys know, let me know in the comments if you've discovered whether or not that actually affects Minotaurs or not, because it's very important. I'm definitely not going to get it if it only affects the Razor Gore herd, because I'm probably not going to get these guys. But if it affects Minotaurs, I'll almost certainly get it. So it's just interesting to think about that keyword. Alright, let's look at what else we have here. So Mage Hunter, this is for Sigor. So if you really want to go all out on Sigors, this might be okay. I think it's a little too niche. I think there's better options for the most part. But this could be decent, potentially down the line. Deadly Onslaught, this is a joke. It's only a self buff. It's got a 90-second cooldown, and it's just percentage based. It's not a flat number. So it's only extra 18% charge and 800% armor piercing. So it's okay. I mean, I guess if you're already deep in this tree, just for 1 point, maybe pick it up, but it's pretty weak. Now this is where I'm going to put my first point, because campaign movement range is where you always want to be. It's super powerful. There are very, very few exceptions where you don't get the campaign movement range first. Income from raiding is okay. I mean, income from raising settlements is quite good. This is better. Upkeep cost, minus 15% for all units. That is huge. Huge. You really need to lower your upkeep costs as much as possible. And all of this stacks with other things that I'll talk about from the tech tree and from the buildings. This extra 15% adds up with everything else that you're going to be doing. So you really have to lower your costs a lot. And these are pretty terrible. So if you're going to go for this tree, I would recommend doing 3 points in Blessed Evil and 1 in Feasting Upon Man. This is bad, but you just have to get it. -1 recovery time. I mean, I guess if you almost get assassinated, then it could be a good thing, but I don't think it's that great. Now, this is amazing. Extra horde growth plus 9. I'll explain why that's good when we go over and look at buildings here in a second, but just trust me. This is just phenomenal. You have to get this ASAP. With the Warriors of Chaos, this skill is pretty much overpowered. It's borderline overpowered, at least in the last patch. They may have changed it this patch, but because it's located right here, so you already have to get this anyways, and you can just pick it up really quickly with 3 points, and this lets you get to tier 4 when it's right here in the Warriors of Chaos. It lets you get to tier 4 if you want it by like turn 20. Like, it's ridiculous. So you can rush those Centaur units. I forgot what they're called in Chaos, but you can rush the Centaur units with the Centaur Lord, and that's a very viable, very strong strategy. So, but you can't do that here, so they balance it out a little bit and put it deeper in the tree. But still, very good over here. Lightning Strike is awesome. This lets you fight units without having to worry about reinforcements. So you might even be able to combine this with Ambush. So I think it's gonna be pretty sweet. I don't know if you can do Ambush and Lightning Strike, but I don't see why not. So this is a really, really good 1 point wonder. So you can come up here, you can go Children of Chaos, down 3 points, Lightning Strike, and then this lets you hire 1 more recruitment capacity with each ward with every faction. So this is very powerful. Or not with each ward, but with, you know, the ward that you're currently putting skills into. This is pretty weak. Yeah, that's weak, but this is pretty strong too. Extra Chaos Corruption if you really need it. But this is definitely worth getting just for these 3 and this and this. This is super, super, super powerful. I can't say it enough. It is like a must-have. So the real question is, do you go for Leader of the Raucous Host first, or do you try to rush Children of Chaos first? It's a very, very tough question. I'm not sure what the correct answer is. I think based on how much fighting I've had to do in my past attempts at this, that you really need to get Raucous Host first, and then transition over and pick up Children of Chaos, because you're going to be really strapped for cash a lot in the early game. So you're not really going to be able to leverage that horde growth and get good buildings until a little bit later into the early mid-game, probably. Okay, so that's skills. And I didn't write down the start time. Dang it, I always do that. Let me just look really quickly to see what the start time was here. I apologize. I'll get it together. It's just late at night, and I just want to give you guys some good content. Okay, we're 18 minutes in, so we'll do 40 more minutes just because we'll do an hour on the first couple of episodes because we have to talk a lot. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get a fight in here. Or actually, we can't do the fight just yet. We have to talk about the buildings because I have to put the buildings up, so just bear with me for a few more minutes. I'm going to go ahead and underway over here, and we're going to fight this. It'll probably be at the end of the episode. But I can't move on to the next turn until I select a tech. I guess we could talk about techs and then save buildings for next turn, because I'm not going to be able to make any buildings this turn. That's what we'll do. Break up the talking a little bit. So let's talk about techs and we'll get a good fight in. Okay, so the tech tree is okay. I mean, it's creative, I'll give them that, but it's a little bit bare bones, but it's fine. There's good choices. So it's certainly not that much worse than something like the Greenskin tech tree or even the Vampire tech tree. Like, the only tech tree that's really awesome and well designed, I think, is the Dwarf tech tree. There's just so many options, and they're all so good, and you really get to tailor to your playstyle with the Dwarves. So every other tech tree is just kind of, you know, there's a few good things, but, you know, there's a relatively straightforward path most of the time. The Empire has an okay tech tree too, but anyways, this is okay. This is okay. So how it works is you start off with 100% research rate, but each time you get a tech, your research rate drops. So you can get anything. These are not tiered, so you don't have to have this before you get this. You can start with whichever one that you want, kind of like the vampires. And they're pretty short. It's just 7, 8, and then 8. So they're pretty short techs, but they get progressively longer the more you lose research. So every time you get a piece, you're going to lose 5%, and you have to come over here and buy your research back. And it's linear, so it's always 20, always 1 corruption. So it feels kind of lame that you have to pay more money for the same thing every single time. I wish there was another way they could kind of balance that out, just make it feel a little less bad when you have to keep spending more money for the same thing. But this means that you want to be very careful in what you select, because you're not going to be able to get everything. So let's take a look here. So first off, you can get +5 leadership versus humans. Pretty decent. And this is what you want. Horde growth +3. Awesome. You need horde growth, because you start off with 1 horde growth. Yes, that's right. 1. So if you get 3, that's 300% more horde growth. So you want that really, really fast, or 400%, I don't know, whatever, it's late at night. It's a lot, it's a lot. So instead of taking 20 turns, it would only take 5 turns. So it's 4 times faster. So you want that soon. I think I'm just gonna rush that. That's what I did last time. And I still think that's the best thing to go. Now, once you finish this, you have more options. Horde recruitment's very nice. It's always good to be able to recruit more things. This is garbage, because when I use the beast path, as I explained in episode, I don't even remember what episode, I think it was episode 1. I forgot we're on a new campaign, this is only episode 2. You want people to actually intercept you. You want to be able to bait people with your beast path. At least that's how I would want to use it. So I don't really want evasion there. Extra leadership for lords, it's okay, but they're already going to have high leadership. Recruitment cost, not really that impressive, because most of the cost comes from upkeep, not recruitment. Recruitment's just a one-time cost. Upkeep is every single turn. Extra experience is good for Gore and Ungore, but this is just a very confusing tree. Like, you get 1 extra experience for Centigore, 1 extra for Bestigor, like enemy siege holdout time -2, what? And hero action cost -20%. Like, this is just, I don't know who designed this part of the tree, but this is just like all these weird skills they just wanted to stick in there somewhere that don't have a really good theme. I mean, these are kind of themed in that you get +1 unit experience, but these just seem very random. Like, why? Okay, so I just really wouldn't get anything out of here pretty much ever. Now this is pretty good. Extra melee attack and defense for lords, so it's definitely worth considering. Missile damage, not really that great. I mean, it's okay, but you're not really known for your missile units. I am going to have a lot of those archers early on, but we're going to transition out of those, I believe, into the mid-game. The only really good missile units that you have are, I think, are going to be the Sigor at the end. Now, yes, some of those centaurs can have throwing axes, but I'm not fully convinced that those are worth it. Maybe they are. I don't know. But this is a subpar point. This, however, is very good. Extra melee attack for Ungore and Gore units. I just showed you guys just how powerful melee attack is percentage-wise. This is extra attack on the same units. So, extremely strong. I mean, there's an argument for actually rushing this before you rush this. I mean, I obviously want horde growth as fast as possible, but you know, I need my units to be as strong as possible too, because we're gonna be fighting so many things. It's just like a never-ending like wave of units that you have to fight as you move up there. So having that extra 50 melee attack is quite strong. This would actually be decent in the early game too, because we are gonna have so many of those archers for quite a while. So, and frankly, we're not gonna have enough money to use the growth early on that much. So maybe this is the best choice. I'm going to try this out this turn. I'm going to try this out and then we'll get to the growth. Because this will be useful in the early game, because we're going to have so many archers, so it's not a complete waste early. And this is going to be good at all points in the game. This also builds into menaced archer strength, which is very nice. And extra speed is pretty good too. So everything in here is pretty strong. You're going to have really strong lords and heroes too. So getting that extra melee attack and defense is nice, because you're going to have to be tanking a lot with them. So that's really sweet. This is a good tree, sort of. Casualty replenishment can be very strong later in the game. Extra rating, I've explained rating. I don't think it's usually a great tactic. Attrition, that's terrible. There's ways to work around attrition. You don't need a tech for that. Income from raising is very nice, 10%. So you basically get 20% for raising, which is super powerful, and you get 35% for rating. So this is definitely really strong, potentially, for cash. Now this is going to cost you an extra 5,000, but I think I'm going to work on this, because you're going to get a lot of Ungor units early on, just because you need to fill out to where you get 17 units in every single roster so that you can get those bonus armies. And this will also, I think, give the bonus to your bonus armies. I think, I'm not 100% about that, but I think this will give all of your bonus armies this extra melee attack too. That may not be true, don't quote me on that, but even if it doesn't, it still is very, very strong. So I think we're going to rush that. Like I said, this could be incorrect, but just in my experience, you just don't have the money early in the game to mess around with building a lot of extra horde buildings. So I'm not sitting there like with money to spare. I'll tell you that, not in the early game. So I'm going to try this out, because this is how I lost. I mean, you lose because you lose battles. You need to win every single battle to get the money. And then once that's taken care of, then you can start thinking about Hives of Pestilence. And if you get a lot of extra cash, you can buy extra research rate if you want to, and then you can get this even faster. So interesting to think about. Okay, so that's our tech. We can't build buildings because we've already moved with both of our units. So that's going to be it for this turn. Actually, let me just look at diplomacy.
Relations with foreign...
Now, you can't do much with diplomacy. Sometimes if units are at war with other units, you can actually get... then they might pay you to go to war with the people they're at war with. Now, with humans, you can only...
Your man gods and dubious...
You can only declare war and I think peace with some human factions. So it's interesting to consider, but can't do anything there. Okay, next turn. Alright, so we should have enough time to do another good battle.
I will not obey.
Now, a question I like to ask myself is, can I beat this guy? I haven't ever actually tried to beat him. Let me see. I'm not going to be able to move. So if you ever hold down the mouse, it'll tell you, like, you know, if you have enough movement speed. Now I might actually be able to reach him. It says that it's a red line though, so that means, see that little slight red there? It means it would take one more turn to reach him, so he's just outside my range. So, if I think I can beat him, I could, in theory, just sit here and ambush him next turn.
Not likely.
I'm not sure. I mean, it's going to be 6 on 8, and they're going to have a lord, so I don't think I can beat him with what I have. So I think I'm going to retreat a little bit into the woods here, hide, and recruit some more. I would love to beat him and take this town down here, but it's just super risky. I just don't think I can do it.
By Sigma,
because he's probably going to have pistoliers. I don't know. I don't think I can do it just yet. But what I can do is fight Bill Ballard here, so let's go ahead and do that. Get a good fight in here. Alright, so it's giving us worse odds in this fight, which has never made a lot of sense to me, because I'm stronger. I have the Minotaurs, and I have Osrock the Great Eye, and I have 2 more units than they have, so I'm not sure how they do this calculation. I guess maybe because I have crossbowmen, they think they can take me? I don't know. Let's go do it again. So what we're going to do, if you can ever do this on a map, this is the kind of strategy that you want to do with Beastmen. I'm going to go for a full surround and just sandwich them and just obliterate them. Go for a Beastman sandwich here. So, we're going to put these 2 guys together. Actually, let me, okay, so let's make these guys... So I'm going to break my rule here and just put him with the normal units. Put him... That's 3. We can make these guys 9, that's fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. What we're going to do is, because I've done this several times now, we want our biggest, best charging units to hit from the flanks. That's the Minotaurs and my Lord. Our other guy over here, and we want our archers over here. So I'll go ahead and speed this up. So what we're going to do here is just run around, get a full surround on them, because they're just going to sit here and wait on me. Get a full surround and crush them. The key here is just don't get in range of those crossbows while you're rotating, so they don't get free shots. I mean, they're kind of stepping up. If they want to run out off of this hill, then I can just kite them. Let's get over here. Come on, guys. They're just bluffing. They're not going to come off that hill. I don't think they will. If they do, we can beat them. It's fine. Whoa, not them. No. Alright, so we'll slow it down here. I need to work on timing my attacks a little bit better. Okay, so I want him to run up first, just so that he draws the shots off of the crossbowman, because he has a ton of armor, and it's really hard to hit a single unit. So I want to make sure he gets in there first. Is he tired? Okay, so they should all be fresh. They have very high vigor, and they've been standing still for a bit. Okay, so they're tickling him. They're really dealing no damage to him. So I don't want to run the Minotaur into spears. So I want to have him flank around this way. These things are actually getting to shoot in my spears, which I'm not a huge fan of. They split. They did a pretty good job of splitting up their units. Yeah, they did a pretty good number on one of my spear units there. just crush them charging into them. Guess we're gonna get out, charge again here in a second. Shoot them in the back. I need to go lock these people up before they get shots in. Why are they running this weird way? Oh, what? My people were split up that much? Yes, these Minotaurs are tearing them up. Actually, these guys need help. I'm gonna go over here and charge those guys. Watch this charge. Let's see if we get it in here. Halt. My guys are really exhausted. Guys, get them. Holy cow. So I didn't get a good charge. They just quit charging for some reason. I guess because the units are running. Guys, get them. Run them down. Okay, this looks juicy. There's a lot of units over here, so let's run them down. These guys kind of have this handled. Where's... Dang it, they're going to get to the edge of the map, I think, before I can get over there. It's a lot of free money walking out the window. So my spearmen ended up taking a lot of that, which is not awesome at all. I guess I should have sent the Minotaurs in first because they have heavy armor at the from the side that had the archers. So that's a mistake of mine, certainly. I'm not sure if it'll make a huge difference, but we'll see. I mean, every little bit counts. And you don't really get to replenish that much. Now look at on time here. Looking decent. Okay, that's not bad. I've received as much as 435 before, or 450 before on that, and I've received as little as 425. So 435 is what I got. Now we had some casualties, so I'm a little bit behind. Like, that's why, I really didn't want to lose these units. So I would get the extra rage if I fought an almost perfect battle, but I goofed it up a bit. Loot and raids always take the cash early on. Alright, new skills. Definitely campaign first. Now we're gonna go like right here. Because if he wants to come over and take this building, or step over here, then I can fight him next turn. But I need one more turn of recruitment first. And encampment. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this. So how this works is you start off with a certain amount of population surplus. Unlike other factions, it only takes 20 to get an extra growth. So it's not 100 to 300 to 600 like a normal faction. With the horde, it's always 1 to 20. You get +1 every turn. Now each time you level up one of these, you get an extra horde growth per turn. So it's super important to upgrade these. I gotta rearrange myself there. You want to choose very carefully which units you decide to pick, because as you can see, it's 1 growth to upgrade this, and then 2, and then 3. Whereas to start right here, to start fresh, it's 4 4 extra growth. And each, if I were to get this unit, then these up here I believe would cost 6. So each time you get a new unit, it costs astronomically more growth to start a fresh new unit. So they really emphasize picking and specializing in a unit. Also, each time you level up a unit, you usually get a discount on that type of unit. So minus 10% upkeep for Ungor units, very strong. Minus 15% for Ungor units, very strong. So if you get minus 15% here, you get the skills with the Lord that I showed last video, or this video, whichever one. For the 15% upkeep, that's 30%, minus 30% upkeep. And then right here you can get up to 50% upkeep. So that would be minus 80% upkeep. I'm not sure if there's a hard cap on upkeep cost, but that would make your units almost free. So it's quite strong. So you really want to choose and upgrade. So when you're choosing what you want to pick and what you want to upgrade, there's a few things to keep in mind. One, what do you want that unit for? Like, how are you going to use it in your army? Is it integral to how you're going to win, or is it just like a nice sort of cute unit that you might want to get on the side? You always want to go for the core units as much as you can. Something that you have a really good vision, you know, of how you're going to be able to use that to win games. So I think you really can't go wrong with solid infantry units. These are very cost effective and cheap early on, and near the end they turn into basically black orcs here. Very strong, high armor piercing, high melee attack. They're great. So very powerful. So I would highly recommend at least picking the infantry line, if nothing else. Also, another question you need to ask yourself is, how upgradable are these units? How well do they synthesize, you know, and really complement what you can get in your tech tree and what you can get in your skill trees, and any items that you might get, or any events that might happen that would give you extra bonuses. So as we've seen, the Ungor get huge bonuses. In the normal skill tree, you can get plus 12 with them, and in the tech tree you get plus 15 with them. And I'm just going to go ahead and spoiler alert, this guy gives you an additional plus 15 with him. So you're looking at 30 plus 42 to attack on a unit that only costs like 100 gold per turn. Plus 42 attacks, that's going to be 64 attack. The guy's going to be hitting on everything. And he gets a bonus versus large. So we're talking 35 weapon damage. And basically 80 melee attack on a unit that only costs 100 upkeep. So they are very upgradable, they are very customizable, they are very powerful. And they're pretty diverse, honestly, too. Like, this guy has Stalk, so you can use him as kind of an infiltrator, like really strong Vanguard deployment unit. He's shielded. And this guy gets plus bonus versus large. This is just sort of a cheaper plus to large, and then you have your archers. These guys are more of your traditional, like, tough melee fighters, and then these are like your black orc type of units. So very upgradable. They're very cheap. That's another thing to consider. Can you afford those units? 250 gold apiece? Absolutely, especially with all these discounts. Very good bargain. Especially this, like 130 for a tier 4 unit? Like, sign me up. That's really nice. So I think you should get these without a doubt. Now this tree, think about what this image looks like right here. To me, it kind of looks like a pile of, you can fill in the blank there with eyes on it. And that's exactly what this is. I mean, you're paying 4 growth, 5 growth, 7 growth to get, what, Chaos Warhounds and Chaos Spawn? Are you kidding me? Like, these don't upgrade with anything. And I would argue that they're not nearly as good as either Bestigor Horde, or Minotaurs, or even Centigors. I think all these units are better. I don't even think they're as good as the Pigs, or Cygors, or Giants. I mean, there's so many better units than this out there. Like, does it look good on paper? Yes. But relative to everything else, and given the context that you could never upgrade them, I mean, they're just a joke. So, would Warhounds be very nice? Absolutely. But Warhounds cannot run down Pistoliers and those Bretonnian units that shoot bows. It looks like they should. be able to do it because they have 93 movement speed, but trust me, they can't, because I've tried it with Chaos against other Chaos when they have those axe-throwing Marauders, which are basically their version of the Pistolier. You can't run them down. So they're good at running down normal stationary archers and artillery. So they do have utility. They are decent, but the problem is they're just not decent enough to warrant 4 extra growth this early in the campaign. I mean, that's double what it takes to get to tier 3 buildings. You get tier 3 on 2 of your lords rather than having hounds. So I wouldn't get these under any circumstance. Centaurs, there's an argument to be made for these. I mean, they're okay. Their health is kind of low, but they are very fast. They are immune to vigor. So that means they never get tired. You can run with them constantly. They're very fast. They can deploy Vanguard. They have a decent charge bonus, decent weapon strength. There's 60 of them in a pack. But they have pretty low base melee attack and melee defense. I personally think there's better options out there. Now, these guys cannot fire while moving. It doesn't tell you they can fire while moving. That's an important distinction. If they could fire while moving, you know, there's a decent chance you might want to get these guys. Now, why does it say that it's shielded, and on his armor it doesn't show you the kind of shield? In the graphic it shows a silver shield though, I think, right? Yeah, it shows a silver shield. Does it show a bronze shield here with these? Let's see. It always shows a silver shield, but I know they have a bronze shield because it shows it right there. So why does this say shielded but doesn't have the shield? I don't know. Anyways, these units are okay, but I think they're outshined by other units. These are kind of in the same boat. They're okay, but I just they're just not that much better than anything else you get. They're nice and cost effective. They're only 200, which is sweet, but they have really low health for monstrous units. Decent armor, but good speed, good charge bonus, good weapon strength. But they don't go into anything really that useful. Yes, you can get a chariot, and that's probably really cool, but I'm just not sold that they're worth it. I would definitely go with these, and then my second choice would be the Minotaurs here. I mean, you've seen them in battle. They're very strong. They have decent armor, huge weapon strength. They're very fast for what they are. So they have a huge charge bonus. They get plus 20% speed when they're near something that they want to charge. So they're extremely strong. But the number, there's a couple of reasons. So one, they're pretty good. They're expensive. It's their downside, but they are very good. Number two, you get this guy. This guy is one of the best heroes in the entire game. I'll show you once we get one, but just trust me. He'll blow you away with his stats. He's really, really good. He's right up there with like the vampires as best heroes in the whole game. Very, very strong. So you want to get this guy as soon as you possibly can. Minotaurs are shields. You get a silver shield and it costs you an extra 100 gold per turn. 100% not worth it, which is kind of a disappointment. They don't, nothing else changes about them. They just get the shield. I guess they do get 12 more defense. Do they lose offense for that? Melee attack is 40. Melee attack is 32. Okay, so you basically trade 8 melee attack for 12 melee defense, which, I mean, these are an offensive themed unit. I mean, it's an offensive themed race. Like, you don't want to stand on a line and just fire. You don't want to sit there and just get peppered with arrows. So, I don't know. Maybe there's a use for it. It's okay. I just don't think it's worth the extra 100 gold per turn. This, however, is super awesome. It's only 400. You get really heavy piercing and plus 24 to large. Plus 24 to large. You're going to be eating cavalry for breakfast with this guy. They're amazing. They have 44 charge. Really nice speed. I mean, they're faster than most heavy cavalry. So, I mean, they basically have somewhere in the neighborhood of 70-something speed. So really fast speed. Their only downside is they don't have a ton of armor. But with that much piercing, that much weapon strength, and that much bonus to large, they're going to be hitting on everything. I mean, I think they can challenge Demigross and Blood Knights as some of the best anti-large units in the whole game. So, and they're only 400. So I think they're quite good. Now, there's only 12 of them in a stack, but they have a ton of health, almost 7,500 health. So that's way more, I think, than Demigross and Blood Knights. So, quite good. So I'm personally going to get these guys, and then the Minotaurs, and then we'll probably get the magic people after that. Because the magic's okay. So while I'm on magic, how are we looking on time? We're almost out of time. So let's just go over the magic really quick while we're at it. So the wizards are very uninspiring for the Beastmen, unfortunately. The Bestigor is super cool. I mean, this is basically a huge artillery piece, does missile splash damage a lot. So he's like a super upgraded rock lobber that can also just, it's like a giant. So if they try to flank around and fight him, he can actually fight pretty well in melee combat. He has 44 melee attack and 50 armor. So he's a little low on the defense, you know, he's not the best fighter in the world, but he's quite strong. But let's look at magic really quick. So they made some major changes to magic in this patch. They basically doubled every cooldown time. So this used to be 12 seconds, now it's 24 seconds. Night Shroud, 63 seconds. Like, what the heck? So this doesn't do any damage. It only gives minus 20%, 24% visibility, and minus 20% accuracy. And it has over a minute cooldown. Now with Sneaky Stabbing, they nerfed it with the cooldown, but they also buffed it. So the duration is now 15 seconds to 12, and it has 50% more range, because I think it used to be a 30-meter range, now it's 45. So it's going to hit your entire army easily if you're the Greenskins. So this is very good news for the Greenskins. So what this basically means for almost every faction is if you want to actually use a mage, you have to pick points into very specific spells. You can't just get all the spells anymore, you have to pick specific ones. Because if you get a tier 2 spell now, it reduces the cooldown by 50%. So it takes it back to its original cooldown. So I like that strategically they're encouraging you to pick specific spells and not just blanket pick everything. But at the same time, it just feels a little, I don't know, it just doesn't feel good. But it feels like when you spend 2 points, you're just getting what you had anyways, because you're used to having that extra cooldown for free without having to put an extra point into it. So it just doesn't feel good as a nerf. I mean, it makes sense from a strategic design standpoint. It's just I wish they would have released this game this way instead of doing it now, because Magic was already pretty underpowered, I think, and now this is gonna make it even more so. But they did increase the duration of some of these things. They increased Sneaky Stabbing, and one that's a little disconcerting is Lore of Light. This Net of Amenthok, 21 seconds. I think it used to be 18 seconds, I'm not sure. But, I mean, being able to stop a unit for 21 seconds where it can't move is enormous. But anyways, it's okay. So one of the huge things that I love about this, though, is Spirit Leech. I think it just straight punched Spirit Leech in the face because it's a 25-second cooldown now. So you can no longer just spam this over and over again on units. But let's look at some new spells here. Okay, so this is what your Legendary Lord will start with. And it's just really weak. Like, look at how many units this kills. Nobody. Every single person gets up. Like, I used this twice in the first battle that I fought with the other Legendary Lord. I couldn't even tell that it hurt him at all. So, very, very weak. Bray Scream, very similar. Look at how many people this kills. Almost nobody. It doesn't even knock them down. It doesn't even disrupt their formation. Look at this. It's just like, oh, excuse me. Let me just let this huge spell just wander right through here. Like, it's just like a polite parting of the waters. You know, not very effective. Okay, Devolve. Let's see how many of this kills. Another direct damage spell. At least this gives -8 leadership, but okay, that one's a little better. It looks like it... Well, that one's actually quite good in this image. Last time I looked at this, it didn't look like it killed that many. Okay, so that looks like that actually wiped out about half the battalion. So if you get this guy, this might be the way to go to devolve. So it says a high chance the opponent will resist damage. So it looks like there's a really good chance that they're not going to take more damage. So that time I don't think it killed as many. Maybe it did. I can't really tell. Trader Kenzo. It slows their speed. Let's see how many this kills. Literally nobody. It didn't kill a single unit. So once again, very, very weak. And they might resist damage. Now this is interesting. I really like this one from a design perspective because it hurts your own units, but it gets you a huge buff to melee attack and to weapon damage. So, but it only affects one ally. It does not affect every other ally around them. So that's a huge nerf or a huge knock on it. I wish you could at least double tap it and have it affect everything around you, but maybe they were afraid that'd be too powerful. It might be. I don't know, but I think it would be. I think it would be cool because everything else is really weak for the most part. And finally, Savage Dominion. You get a Sigor. So, it's okay. But you can't even summon it if you have 20 other units in your army. So, you have to have an empty spot for them and just summon it. So that's okay, I guess. Let's look at the other tree and then we'll call it an episode. So... this is just a very confusing tree. I'm really not sure what it's supposed to accomplish. So you get 22% extra weapon damage and 15 armor. So it's like you want to be aggressive, but you also want to be defensive. So with the Beast Lords, you don't want this. You always want to be aggressive because you don't have good defense. So I don't know. It's okay, I guess. The Flock of Doom. Let's see how much damage this does. How many units is it going to kill? Literally nobody. I love Flock of Doom and Shadow of the Horned Rat. It was so much fun. It was super powerful. Like, it just almost wiped out an entire unit by itself. But in this version, high chance they will resist damage. So, extremely weak. Once again, this seems very confusing. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, you get damage reduction, but you also get speed. Why do you need both of those? If you have speed, that means you're probably going to want to charge something. That's where speed's really useful. Or run away from something. Either way, if you have speed, you don't want to be sitting there locked in combat. Maximizing this damage resistance, because you're not going to be moving. So, I don't really get it right there either. This is such a thin shot. I mean, it does kill like a couple units, but I mean, maybe it's really good against like giants or something like that. I'm not sure. But it doesn't look that impressive. Once again, this is super confusing. I mean, like, which kind of unit would you cast this on? Because ranged units typically don't run. Like, the only units that will run are skirmisher units. Like, it'd be good on pistoliers, it'd be good on outriders, but it's just, it's so few niche units this would be good on that I just don't understand why design a spell like this at all. Because units where you want to give them negative speed are probably going to be charging you, and they're not going to be ranged. Or ranged units don't need to run, they just want to stand still and shoot, so they're not going to care about the speed. I don't know, I guess it's versatile. I guess all of these are versatile, like they're good in some situation on the battlefield, but they're just not optimal. Like, you just can't really say, I'm getting this spell for this purpose and use it to great effect. It's just like versatile, but ineffective because of its versatility, if that makes sense. And finally, this is a really cool spell, so I love this. You get a Manticore. But the only thing that bothers me about this is, why can't you hire this normally? Like, this would be such a cool unit. They don't have any flying units at all. Like, there's no flying mounts even. So, why not, like, have a Manticore as a mount? Or why not have a Manticore as a unit that you can hire? Now, I understand with Creative Assembly that sometimes you just can't do every single unit, so I sympathize with that. I get it. It's very expensive to make animations. Like, the graphics are gorgeous. There's lots of individual animations when they attack, when they fly around. So, I think they do a fantastic job with the units they make, so I'm not hating on them. I'm not, like, pounding the fist demanding more units. It would be cool, but I understand from a cost perspective why sometimes they have to leave units out. But in this case, they clearly have the animations developed because you can summon it. So why not turn it into a mount or make it into a tree? Like, you could put it right here. Right here would be perfect, because then that would give you a reason to actually go up this tree. It would give you another tough thing, because you don't have to think, okay, do I want Minotaurs? Do I want pigs and a Manticore? Or do I want this Wizards and Sigor? Like, that'd be a very interesting decision. Like, you could make it stand alone like a giant, but I think just putting it right here, because the pigs are good, the chariot can be good. The problem is it just doesn't build anything that's super impactful. But if it built into a Manticore, it would fit the beast theme. It'd be perfect. Because right now, and especially I'm worried about this for multiplayer in particular, because they don't have air superiority. They have, just like the Chaos, I think they're going to have very similar problems that the Chaos has. They don't have very good missile infantry. The only thing they have is the Sigor, which is okay. I mean, I guess you can hurl rocks at flying units, but they don't have air superiority. They don't have air units. They don't have missile units to deal with air units. So I think that's a huge problem when you're trying to deal with flying legendary lords or gyrocopters or anything like that. I just think they're going to be very underpowered in multiplayer, and the reason is they don't have something like a Manticore. So I really wish they would just give them the Manticore here. But I think we're out of time, right? Yeah, we're over time. So thank you very much. It's going to be it for this episode. Hopefully gained a little bit of insight, a little bit of knowledge, had a little bit of entertainment. We had a pretty good fight here. And I promise you the episodes are going to speed up. Like, I just have to explain a lot of things in the first couple of episodes just so that you guys can play the best campaign that you can play. Because, you know, I'm not playing this to show that I can beat it on Legendary, or that I'm cool, or that I'm a good player, or anything like that. I'm, you know, creating this so that you can make better decisions on your own, improve your own campaign gameplay, enjoy your own gaming experience. That's why I'm really here. So, I hope that you learn a lot out of it. But we will pick up the pace now that we understand a lot of these complex systems. We've gone over the new magic, we've gone over the eclipse, we've gone over the stances, we've gone over the new bar here, we've gone over the horde mechanics with the buildings, we've gone over the technologies. There's just so many different things that are just so cool about the Beastmen, and they all work together to create a very complex, rich, strategic environment. So I love it. But in the next few episodes, we are going to fight a lot, I'll promise you that. We're going to rotate, we're going to start moving up here, we're going to start trying to sack and burn things, and probably everyone's going to declare war on us, and we're just going to be fighting constantly. So it should be an interesting situation. Now, it's possible that I should come down here and take these people out early. I'm not really sure. That's a strategy I'll have to consider. Like, knock them out, because what happened last time is they were one of the straws that broke the camel's back. They sat here, built up to 20 units, and came up here, chased me all the way up here, and I got attacked by them, I got attacked by this faction, and I got attacked by Paravon, and this faction. There were 4 factions collapsing on me at the same time. It only took 3 of them to kill me, but it was nasty. So there is an argument to be made for just coming down here, possibly, and dealing with this. This is a capital. It does have decent units here, so I'm a little scared, but, you know, if I make a couple more units, I might be able to siege and beat them. I just don't think I'm a very good siege unit. I could bait them to come out of their castle, potentially, if I hide. I don't know, we'll see. I'll think it over. I might just want to rethink my strategy, because just running up here cold turkey is hard to deal with, to say the least. So, thank you very much. It's going to be it for this episode. I hope you had a great time, and if you did, watch the other episodes. I'm going to release a bunch of these at once. There should be lots of content for you to enjoy. We also, as I said at the end of the last video, we have great League of Legends content if you want to learn how to play support, if you want to learn how to carry to diamond through good strategic thinking. That might be an interesting little subsection of the YouTube page. And we have a great education page too that's coming out. We don't have a ton of content yet. We have a couple of good videos, but we'll be rolling that out soon. If you're in academia, or you want to return to academia, or if you just want to get a better job or perform better in your professional life, there's going to be lots of good content there in the coming weeks. So stay tuned. And thank you very much. It's always a pleasure broadcasting for you. And, you know, if you like these videos, consider liking, subscribing, leaving comments, watching more videos, telling your friends about it. Anything that you can do really helps out a ton. I greatly appreciate it. And the people who are able to find the channel because of your contributions are also going to greatly appreciate it. So thank you very much. Anything that you can do, that'd just be awesome. And yeah, that's going to be it for this episode. So hope you enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to the next episode. I have a ton of fun playing these, and I hope you have a good time watching as well. So thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you next time, and have a wonderful evening.